Top Fan Rivalry family, and back to a one-on-one. Here we go. We got Dominic back in the house. I don't know if you've already watched his episode with Bill or not, but if you haven't, you definitely need to do that. That was some kind of fun. Now I'm going to ask him a few questions about going to the ballpark. So Dominic, it's you and I for the next, I don't know, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever we decide we want to do, right?
I'm good with that.
I mean, the guys that are filming over here are looking at us going, no, man, what you talking about, right? Anyways, let's talk about ballparks. Your favorite memory that you saw in person?
So my favorite memory in a ballpark is technically less about the game, even though the game was awesome.
Okay.
It was my first time at Fenway.
Okay.
Actually ended up being my 40th birthday. Both my kids were there, and the wife. Sunday night Yankee game that the Red Sox won.
Does it get any better?
It had all the highlights. I didn't have a gajillion hours of stress because we went up 7-1. I think it was 7-1 in the first inning. So I got to relax, hit all my bets, in the first inning. So I was like, I made money on top of that. But we did the stadium tour and everything. And both my kids, I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. So at the time they were 11 and 6.
Okay.
And they both got to see Fenway, obviously way before I did, because that was my first trip there. And got to see the history and got to see something different than, the California stadiums. And
where they show up in the first inning and leave in the fourth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I was like, we're
yeah.
down by 3. Let's just go. It's
Yeah.
7. But we got to see everything. And my son fell in love with the Aroldis Chapman. We got to see Chappie come out and, he did his little pose at the end, and my son just thought that was the coolest thing. Saying Sweet Caroline, and I have a video watching of my kid holding him, and he's just like staring out into seeing everything. And there was a bunch of obviously Sox fans around us, and we look like tourists, and they just was.
That's fine.
But it was really cool. They were really inviting and engaging with us. They're like, where are you guys from? We're California. All of us are wearing, Sox gear. And they were just like, they made that experience not just for me, but for my kids. And that's why it's the coolest, because it's experiencing that whole thing with the family. So now we're even starting to do, this year, we're going to do the stadium tour. We're going to do every stadium. We're going to try and do it at a Red Sox game all the time. So that's
perfect.
That's gonna be our little family thing every year, whether it's like 1 or 2 stadiums a year, until we get all of them.
All 30 of them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. And you're right. Going the first time I went to Fenway, when you walk up that tunnel and you see the stadium, it feels different. It hits different because you can literally feel the history. You think of all the guys that have played there, Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, all these guys that have played there, not to mention guys like Shohei Ohtani and all these guys now that have played there. So you can literally feel the history, and it hits differently.
Yeah, it really
hits
does.
differently.
It really does.
I like that. What's one of the funniest things, actually, I'm sorry, what's one of the coolest things that you've seen at a ball field?
So the coolest thing I've ever seen was Game 5 of the 2018 World Series at Dodger Stadium, getting to watch Chris Sale strike out Manny Machado and win the World Series. Like, there was that whole game was surreal. Like you asked me a question about, just a little bit about me and my fandom, and I mentioned being at the World Series and watching it was the greatest experience of my life, and that includes, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
No, that was the greatest experience of my life. And I joke about it, and I love my kids and everything, but that was amazing, watching, the home runs getting hit, and just the progression of like, oh my gosh, this is gonna happen with me here. Like, I woke up in the morning and said, I'm gonna buy a ticket, and just bought a ticket. My aunt came over and watched the kids for a few hours before, my wife was home, and I went to the stadium by myself, full Red Sox gear, and said, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna do it. And I am it's the coolest thing because I just decided to do it and I did it and sat in a row in the left field pavilion with a bunch of Sox fans. Like
Doesn't get any better than
there's a
that.
dude from Florida who actually goes to spring training all the time. There's a dude who moved out to LA like the week before the game from Boston.
Yeah.
And you could tell like he was like looking around, he's like, are we good? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. The Dodger fans that'll beat you up, they're priced out of this game. We're fine. But but it was just so much fun. It's legitimately like I've been to ball games my entire life, and that was the coolest experience ever.
So, for those of you that haven't watched the full episode with Dominic and Bill and myself, there was a question that I asked, and Dominic responded Manny Machado. And so, you're going to have to go and watch that episode too, because that probably gave it a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
more of a thing. It wasn't just winning the World Series. It might have been a little. I mean, think about it. If it was Freddie Freeman, you would have been happy, but there was a
No,
little bit of
there's
extra
oh yeah.
something, something,
Oh
right?
yeah. And then the fact that it got to be Chris Sale to come in and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, best on best,
Yep.
to
Yep.
finish the
Yep.
game off. It was beautiful.
Awesome. What's the funniest thing you've seen at a ballpark?
This actually happened just a few weeks ago. I was at the Angels Sox game out here, and we got to see the "Sell the Team" chant
Up in right
up
field.
in the bleachers in
Yeah.
right field. It's like I'm
Woo,
looking. I looked up.
raising
It's
the
like the fourth
shirts.
inning, and there's like a few dudes up there, and then all of a sudden by the seventh, they had taken 4 different rows all the way down in the bleachers.
Yeah.
All these dudes, shirts off, sell the team, sell the, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I'd never seen this. Like they really don't like him out here.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I
No,
can't
they
blame them
don't.
for as bad as the Angels have been bad. And it's like, and the fact that they had two generational talents on
Yeah,
that team
yeah.
for as long as they did.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. It's funny because sometimes when you think of, you see funny things on TV, but when you see things in real life, they just hit different, right? When you see, somebody overthrow somebody or a hidden ball trick or something funny or two guys kind of run into each other and they're not hurt or,
Yeah.
I would have loved in the 90s to see Jose Canseco go back on the fly ball and hit off his head
Yup.
and go out. I would have laughed hysterically. That would have been the funniest thing that I had seen. So I told somebody else this before. The funniest thing that I saw actually had to do with Tommy Lasorda. And we were at a game, my wife and I were at a game one time, and we had really good seats. We were 3 rows behind home plate. We looked to the left, and Tommy Lasorda is over to the left.
Yeah.
And I won't mention the name of the player, but Matt Kemp had struck out on a pitch in the dirt, and the catcher picked it up and he put the ball in his glove and he just went to go tag Matt on the chest, but Matt moved, and so the catcher ended up tagging him a little high, and it was Matt's fault, and so Matt took that personal and decided to start a fight. And I looked over at Tommy, and Tommy's shaking his head. And you could see that Tommy was frustrated that Matt did it. And
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing because I'm thinking, Matt Kemp or Tommy Lasorda, who's in the right here?
Yeah.
I'll go with Tommy.
Yeah.
I'll go with Tommy. Okay, so we know your favorite memory. We know the coolest one. We know the funniest one. Now, baseball to me is a very special game. What makes baseball so special for you?
It's the first sport that ever caught my attention.
Okay.
I was raised by a single mom,
Okay.
and from when I can remember, I wanted to play catch. My mom took me outside and said, "Okay, let's play catch." And it's something that was super special to me. And then my grandpa, who raised me, he as I got older, he would go outside and play with me, and I just remember it just being such a good time. Baseball was always fun, no matter how competitive it got and how stressful it can get. You're up on the bottom of the ninth, or you're pitching, and the bases are loaded. It was still a lot of fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember in high school, the only reason I actually went to school was to play ball. It was like, as a teenager, as a kid, I knew everything, obviously.
Of course you did.
And I was the smartest human being alive. And I remember just like during the off season, just slacking off and not doing anything. And then baseball season started. I'm like, well, got to get my grades up so I can play. And nope, can't be absent today. I practice. Can't be absent today. I got a game. And it was like, you're sick. No, I'm not. I got a game today.
You got a game today.
And I just remember baseball being like the most important thing in high school.
Uh-huh.
And my mom didn't miss a single game. She worked full time. She worked in LA. I just remember every game that I had, she was in the stands. And I'll never forget that. And so now I try and do the same for my kid
Yeah.
who's playing. And baseball just does that. Like there's something that it does that brings people to a different level.
Yeah, it does. It does. And you and I talked about this when we first met off camera, and baseball's now in our real life, outside of our playing days now, it's kind of a 3 hour break from everything that's nuts,
Yeah,
right?
from
Whether
reality.
it's yeah, and you can sit and you can watch a game and you can just enjoy the companion or the competition and if you're hanging out with buddies, the companionship with your buddies and things like that. So you have the ability to do that, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's it will always hold a special place because of the people who taught me how to play. I remember going to my first Dodger game with my mom, and
Yeah.
by the seventh inning, actually throwing up because she bought me every piece of food that I wanted. I remember getting a hot dog and nachos and a personal pizza and cotton candy and red vines, and she's telling me like, you probably should stop, and I'm like, no, I want that. The seventh inning, I'm just like, oh no. It was like, I'm 5 years old. There's no reason I should have eaten all that. And she was like, now you understand.
It's a
Yeah,
great lesson to
yeah,
learn.
it was a great lesson. Now I go to the game, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to eat anything.
Yeah. She saved you thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Now it's just like, well, I wonder how many beers I can carry. But
Oh my word, oh my word. Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure to hear some of these experiences from you and from others. That's why we created this, right? Is so that we could have some fun doing this and hear these experiences. I love the fact that your mom did that because it taught you maybe you don't need all this stuff,
nah.
right? And so now when your kids, you don't want that stuff, you're saying, let me tell you a story about what happened to me.
Oh no. This last game we went to, my son was asking for everything. He wanted a pretzel, he wanted a hot dog, he wanted pizza, he wanted cotton candy, and an ice cream. I'm like, you can have like two of those things, man. Like, you don't eat the chicken nuggets I buy you. You gotta order all of these things. So
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I learned my lesson. I'm like, I'm gonna let you learn yours.
There you go. There you go. Love it. Well, Top Fan family, we are so grateful to have guys like Dominic in the community, guys like Bill. If you haven't watched the episode with both Dominic and Bill, you definitely need to check that out. Make sure that you are subscribing to this channel. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we are on Twitter or X. And make sure you join in our clubhouse. Go to topfanrivalry.com/clubhouse. There's articles in there. There's old episodes in there that you can take a look at, written by fans, written by myself. But make sure you go check that out. And there's a lot of fun stuff, including the clubhouse that we're sitting right here in Mission Viejo. Come by and visit us sometime. Dom's our personal security. So if you ever step out of line, we got him to handle things for you. But thanks so much for watching. And we look forward to having you on and listening to us the next time.